Serious okay Redditors, what absolutely, 100, undeniably happened to you, but if you told anyone, it would get posted on Repeat Your Bullshit. A friend of mine and I were sitting outside his house chatting as I dropped him off from soccer training. We saw a small flash in the air and joked that it was a plane on fire. We agreed however that it was lightning from a coming storm. The next morning I received a message from my mate. A plane had burst into flames above my suburb the previous night and the pilot had managed to crash it into the sea to save lives. Editing with a link for proof. Ha! A friend of mine did this. He had parked his family's shitty gray Toyota Corolla at the local curling club, and his brother urgently needed the car, so his parents dropped the brother off at the club to pick it up. Couldn't find my friend, and pre-cell phone days, so he ended up just taking the car. My friend got out and found a very similar shitty gray Corolla and was convinced it was his. Door lock worked effortlessly. Seat needed a minor adjustment, as did the mirrors. The ignition key kinda stuck a bit, but eventually turned over. He started to drive home. He was a few blocks down the road and his eyes were scanning across the top of the dashboard when it struck him. Jesus, he said. There was a statue of Jesus on the dashboard. He quickly drove it back and called home for a ride. Well, shit. I went out to the parking lot after work to get in my car and leave, but my key wouldn't start the car. Mid-typing this it literally just occurred to me to check the license plate, and it is indeed my car. Looks like I'm having ignition problems. Smile. So seeing as how common this is, if anyone in central Ontario has keys to an NF Hyundai Sonata and can swing by to start my car, it would really be appreciated.
Hey guys, much like you, I love reading people's stories on Ask Reddit. Unfortunately, there's a lot of weird middle school level, just thought experiment type hypotheticals like nice try Baskin Robbins. I don't find this compelling, so that's why I've made it my mission to trawl and crawl through Ask Reddit and find the very best content and put it in your ears. That's why I'm begging you, like and subscribe. If there's anything I can do to help you out, give you the kind of content that you crave to help you get through your workday, let me know in a comment. But please like and subscribe.
The cop didn't want to have to write up what happened in a report. My sister was once pulled over by a cop. Well, she gets pulled over a lot. This was one such incident. As the cop is talking to her, his cruiser starts to smoke and overheat. He ran back to it and turned it off. Then he returned and told her that he had to let her go because there was something wrong with his vehicle. Being polite, she asked if she could call anyone for him on her cell phone. He just shook his head and walked away. After a PJ show in Milwaukee, 2014, I was 14, I decided to wait up near the VIP parking exit to see if there was any chance of meeting anyone on their way out of the venue. Pearl Jam was still my favorite band, and Eddie Vedder is my idol. There was a crowd of about 10 people there along with me, just chatting and waiting. While we were waiting, a guy comes out of the parking lot and starts chatting with us. Turns out he was a roadie. He hands us some pics and heads back into the venue. Pretty cool. About another hour later, same guy comes out, walks directly to me. I was the only kid there. Everyone else was between their late 20s to in their 40s, and says Ed will be out soon, so don't go anywhere. So we wait about 20 more minutes all excited, when a black SUV exits the parking lot and stops in the driveway exit right in front of us. A person in the passenger seat gets out and says, "Hey guys, I got Eddie in the back of this car. He's gonna come out and say hi to everyone, but he doesn't want any pictures or any autographs. That okay with everyone?" Everyone was just kinda shocked and we were just like, fuck yeah, that's okay with us lol. So Ed comes out of the car and I'm just thinking, holy shit, this is happening. He walks over to the people waiting on his side of the exit first, shakes hands or gives them a hug, talks with them for a couple of minutes, then moves on. Then he comes to my side, talks with everyone for a couple minutes just the same. Then when it's my turn to talk to him, he looks at me and says, "I'll be with you in a second." He goes around me and meets everyone else on my side, and now I'm the only one left he hasn't met. So after the last person, he looks at me again with a big smile on his face, walks over to me and says, "Now we have to get you out of this cold." It was 3 in the morning in October in Wisconsin, so it was a little chilly lol. I respond, "It's worth it to meet my hero." He said, "Is that right?" With another big grin. He then gave me a big hug and handed me a pic. "I used that one during Lukin, so sorry if it's a little scuffed up," he told me. Lukin is a really fast song that he just kinda goes crazy on live, really funny. Then he leaned against the railing that separates us and chatted with me for a good 10 minutes. We talked about music, inspiration for writing. I'm a guitar player and I write songs often. We both said we get a lot of inspiration from the ocean, which was cool. We talked about baseball too. he's a huge Cubs fan. When it was time for him to go, he gave me another hug and said something along the lines of, "Promise me that in 10 years you'll let us open up for your band," and said goodnight. Best night of my life by far. Eddie was the nicest guy. Sometimes it's great to meet your heroes. TL, Doctor, I met Eddie Vedder when I was 14 and he was the nicest guy ever. Is that right? Not is that tight? Haha, a topic in the Space sub reminded me of this just yesterday. I had beers with Buzz Aldrin. I was at a cable conference in about 1998. The cable TV industry was pretty new in the UK at that time and there was a lot of money sloshing around, so dinners had some great speakers. After Buzz made his after-dinner speech, which was great and all about how we should use the empty rockets orbiting to make space hotels, my friend who organized the dinner guided Buzz out while the rest of the business was done, speeches thanking people, awards, that kind of thing. As my mate walked past our table with Buzz, he said to me, "Come on mate, would you talk to him in the bar while we finish up?" So there I was, introduced to Buzz Aldrin, and his lovely wife, Lois. We had beers, laughed and talked, and it was awesome. Yes, he does stand his round, he drank Budweiser, she stuck to Coke. TL, DR, I met a spaceman. I don't give a fuck what anyone says, a mailbox and a mushroom saved my life as a kid. Growing up in the rural suburbs of FL, you'd think they'd cool it with the guns. Fuck me, a Mirite. Well, each day I'd go outside to get the mail for my parents, as my job 4 to 9 years old. One day, I remember going to the mailbox. I lived in the second house into the cul-de-sac. I distinctly remember a blacked out, 4-door undercover cop kinda looking car at the inside circle of the street. I grabbed the mail, like normal. Only thing difference is, on the right side of the mailbox was a fat ass mushroom the size of a pancake on the ground. So me being a spiteful fucker, kicked the mushroom. Just when I kicked the mushroom I heard shouting and tires screeching. I stand up, look to my left, and I see the blacked out undo skirting toward me. Before it reached the front of my house. Pop, 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 chick tink. I still don't know the story behind it, but one of my neighbors shot wildly at this car driving away. It wasn't until later that I cheated death. The spot I was standing was in the straight path of the bullet. Given my height and the placement of the bullet, it would have caught me in the neck or head. I ran back inside after the pops. My mom then cried, happy I was okay. I don't think she knows I almost died. Or how close I was. If I had been on the opposite side of the mailbox or not letting my child instincts to kick a mushroom, I would have been capped. TL, Doctor, doing my job as child postal worker almost got me iced by my gun-wielding neighbor, but thanks to a mailbox and mushroom, I'm still alive. My proof. I don't know what happened to the neighbor, all I know is he moved. A shroom cap saved my cap from getting capped. So technically now there's video of it, but as a child I encountered a blue ladybug and everyone always called bullshit on it. Or they ask if it was painted Lamau. I told my sister to hold onto it while I went inside to grab a jar. Literally 30 seconds later I come out and she let it fly away. I was pretty sure I was about to become world famous for discovering blue ladybugs. I've never encountered another one like it since then. I found my first girlfriend after about 10 years of breaking up, buying groceries in the city where I lived. She was studying there. I saw her and every feeling I had for her rushed back as if we were still together just the day before. We went out a couple of times, talked a lot. And when I finally told her I wanted to get back together, she rejected me. I went back home, broken-hearted. There I was, laying in bed that night, trying to cope with my situation when I received a text message from an unknown number. I love you. Could it be? She was always running out of minutes in her cell phone, so maybe she asked one of her friends for hers? Who are you? I texted back. You know who I am. The person I think you are does not feel that way about me. What are you talking about, tonta? Tonta is the female form of silly or dumb in Spanish. I dialed the number. Some guy answers. That dumbass was trying to text his girlfriend and dialed the wrong number. I hanged up, looked up to the ceiling and said out loud, "You're laughing your ass off, aren't you?" And decided that yeah, I should laugh as well. My aunt won $1 million from Velveeta cheese, and every time I tell anyone that, they give me this look like they know I'm lying, but it's 100% true. It was back when there was a cardboard and tree slip thing inside the packaging, and she sent it in and won and was on the front page of the newspaper in my town. I worked at an ice cream parlor in Disneyland around 1989. He came in one night dressed as a Muslim woman in full burqa and sunglasses. He had a single security guy with him who looked vaguely Middle Eastern, so together they looked like a Muslim couple. Instead of ice cream, MJ wanted frozen yogurt, which we didn't serve. But our manager sent someone out to get frozen yogurt because it was Michael fucking Jackson. A Midwest tourist family sat next to his table, and the sweet little old grandmother was fascinated by the woman next to her, dressed in a burqa, and so she started talking to them and asking innocent questions about their religion, etc. To the family's delight, he told them who he really was, and asked them not to tell anyone, and when he left he picked up their tab. At that time, he had no problem signing his name on the credit card slip.
I turned 36 this year, and I decided to focus on my physical fitness, so I bought a swim club membership. The only problem was, most of the time when I go swimming, I wind up getting an ear infection. So it turns out that normal earplugs that kind of irritate your ear canal, they don't really work, they don't keep the water out, but there is an amazing kind of earplug called Mack's Pillow Soft Silicone earplugs that, they feel great, they keep the water out 100%, they're reusable, and they don't irritate your ear canal at all, no issues. If you've ever had a severe ear infection, you don't want to experience that again. It can permanently damage your hearing if you're unlucky. So investing in these earplugs is definitely a good idea. Also, when my baby was crying later this year and I could not get to sleep, I used the same earplugs and they worked great. I was able to sleep right next to a crying baby. So be sure to click my affiliate link and purchase some of these Mack's earplugs today.
That's why the customer service people wouldn't believe me for 2 days. On the third day I just gave up and called the 1-800 customer service hotline. I was on the phone for 2 hours explaining my situation and they just gave up on me and turfed me to Delta. I was able to get on the next Delta flight within 30 minutes of getting a ticket. United sucks dick. I was bitten 5 times in one night by a spider with necrotoxic venom. It caused parts of my skin and underlying muscle and fat to die. It turned black and just literally melted and dripped off of me. I didn't go to the doctor, so it progressed for about 3 weeks before the venom ran its course. I have scars from it. Not an insane story, but one I get questioned on occasionally. My cousin claims she once woke up to me standing over her, my foot on her hair. She was sleeping over on the floor. I wasn't moving or saying anything or really even looking at her. She says she spoke to me but I didn't respond, but after a minute or two I just stepped back, sat on my bed, then eventually laid back down in it. My best friend once claimed he woke up late at night to take a piss, and when he came out of the bathroom I was standing in the bedroom doorway. "What are you doing?" I asked. He says he was just using the washroom and all that, and asked what I was doing. I didn't respond, I just stood there. After a moment he was like, "Dude?" And apparently I threw a book or something at him and went back to my bed. My dad woke me up during a flight once saying I was staring out the window, eyes wide open, mumbling shit. One of my friends from a sleepover claimed I was waving my arms around in my sleep asking for the fish to come back please. I obviously wouldn't recall this sleepwalking talking shit, but a lot of people claimed I have. Apparently to really creepy extents. I always wonder if it was just a huge collaborate effort to bullshit me though. This is one of my top rated comments now, but I was asleep at the time of making it. The plot thickens. When I was 11 to 12 I was flying home from boarding school in Indonesia. The plane was a Boeing 737-400 maybe. We stopped in a small city en route to our final destination to refuel and exchange passengers. My siblings and I stayed on the plane because we weren't staying at this destination, but flying through. Well, it was at this time that the captain came out of the cockpit and started talking to us and was amazed at our fluency with the language. The captain asked me if I wanted to sit in the cockpit for the remainder of the journey. My face lit up with the offer and I quickly accepted. I was now all buckled in and sitting right behind the center console between the captain and co-pilot. Best day of my life. We would talk off and on about random stuff. Captain asked if I knew anything about airplanes. I explained that I had played a lot of flight simulator. So I understood what most of the important controls were. He tested me on some of them and overall I did pretty good. He then asked me if I wanted to pilot the plane for takeoff. Thinking he was joking, I laughed it off and said I'm good, thanks. So we take off and reach cruising altitude in no time. He asked again, "You want to pilot the plane?" Me, "No. CPT, come on, it'll be fun." Before I even responded, he was getting out of his seat. I nervously took his place. Wore the captain's hat and took control of the plane. The captain pointed at an instrument and said, "Keep the plane following that line." So I did. At first I didn't believe I was in control, but then when I slightly turned the plane to correct our course, it hit me. I was terrified, but I was loving every second of it. The steward took picture of me in the pilot's seat with the captain's hat on. But this was before the digital age and there was no way I could get it. I thought I had given them my dad's email or phone, but I can't remember. TL, drive. I got to fly a 737 jet plane full of people when I was 11. Reminds me of my friend. He was at a gym in Austin and saw a guy who he thought looked just like Ryan Gosling. He goes up to him and asks, "Hey man, has anyone ever told you that you look like Ryan Gosling?" Guy replies, "Yup," with a smile. "Wait, are you Ryan Gosling?" "Yeah." They both laughed. He said he felt like a damn fool after that. Kinda reminds me of this time I was at Target with my girlfriend. I noticed an employee messing around with a Rubik's Cube, but he was getting nowhere with it. He left it down and went off to do something, and my girlfriend was in the dressing room, so I just solved it for him to fuck with him. I wonder what his reaction was. Lol. I kicked a basketball up through a basketball hoop and it went through without hitting any of it. Went backwards over my head, bounced and landed in the other hoop, also flawlessly. Happened when I was at 6th form in the UK, obviously wasn't a full-size court, but still awesome enough to sound fake as hell. I was arrested for vandalizing a sign when I was about 15. Cop puts me in the back of his cruiser. Car still running. He gets out of the front to confer with a colleague on the sidewalk who had just shown up. Once his colleague left, he returned to the cruiser I was sitting in, only to find that he had locked himself out. I was 15, so my arms were like toothpicks. I reached through a slight crack in the glass barrier separating the front and back seat and unlocked the car door for the cop. He looked around, looked down at me and said, "Have a good night, kid," and let me go. It was epic. Scarlett Johansson walked into a grocery store in Bumblefuck NJ that I worked in back in high school, 10 years ago, and came to my checkout liney register. I remarked to her, "You look just like Scarlett Johansson," to which she just smiled briefly, seemed like she was in a hurry. She was buying cigarettes, so I had to card her, and on her license, it said fucking Scarlett Johansson. I didn't even say anything, rang her up, she paid with cash and just left. Random. When I was 14 or 15, I bought tickets to see my favorite band. One of the other bands that was playing was Bring Me the Horizon, and the day of the show, they were doing a meet and greet at a mall near the venue. I figured I'd go and meet them and score some autographs. Now, I was super nervous because this was the first time I had met anybody famous. When I got to the front of the line, their lead singer, Oli Sykes, saw that I was jittery and stammering a little, so he said, "Look at this cunt," all nervous, and he and his bandmates shared a few laughs at my expense. Then he said, "I suppose you want my autograph now," in a way that made it kind of clear that he was chuffed that he was famous enough to make some starstruck kid anxious. I left without even getting their autographs. That night at the show, during BMTH's set, I was really close to the front of the crowd, like right in front of the pit. During one of their songs, Oli decided to crowd surf, and when he got within arm's length of me, I punched him in the forehead. I didn't punch him that hard, especially not for the frontman of a metal band who undoubtedly knows that that kind of stuff frequently happens by accident when crowd surfing, but hard enough that I felt like I got him back for being a turd. TL, DR punched Oli Sykes in the forehead.
If there's ever a fly, or a mosquito, or like a yellow jacket, or some weird unknown insect in my house, my wife will not leave me alone until it is dead, and she will blame me personally for having a house that an insect entered. The only way that I'm able to buy peace for myself so that I can work on this YouTube channel that you enjoy is by using an electric fly swatter with an affiliate link in the description. The way this fly swatter works is that you hold down the little button and then you whack the fly as if it were a tennis ball, and it looks like a tennis racket. And what the electricity does is it stuns the insect or kills it so that you can clean it up easily. And the fact that it's a tennis racket gives you a much better chance of actually hitting the insect. And I found it invaluable, and I hope that you will decide to also use it in your home. And, if you're like a teenage boy, you can also whack other teenage boys with it. We used to do that in the Boy Scouts.
In a lagoon by my house growing up was a Mexican chap who used to run an off-the-books mini zoo. He used to have an eagle, a cheetah and a chimp. The eagle and cheetah weren't around when I met him though, just the chimp. Anyways, the chimp hated the owner, he had bandages on both arms from the chimp attacking him. But the chimp loved me, he offered me $5 a day to come keep the chimp company and give him food and water. So every day after school I would take the long way home and spend about an hour each day with this chimp. He would groom me and I would groom him. After a while the chimp would know I was on my way, and I could hear him singing several blocks away as I approached, like a monkey car alarm, oh 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 ooh ooh oh 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 ooh. TL, DR I got paid to take care of a chimp at a defunct illegal zoo when I was 7. Edit, Bataquitos Lagoon in Carlsbad, California for those interested. This took place over 2 decades ago. I believe the cage is underwater now, the waters have risen a lot. Double secret edit, this might have been the property the cage was on. About 6 years ago, my dad's friend business associate shot and killed his son, who was the same age as me, while his son was asleep. He then proceeded to drive to his wife's work, picked her up, drove for a little bit, shot and killed her, turned the gun on himself, and shot himself, resulting in the car crashing into the tree. Within an hour or two, my dad shot and killed himself in our basement. Everyone has always naturally assumed the incidents were somehow related, but no one knows how, or more accurately, the people who do know won't come forward. Rumors ranged from a drug deal gone bad to the kid who was shot being my dad's illegitimate son, which he wasn't. Very frustrating after all these years to still have so many unanswered questions. Dr. Dad shot and killed himself the same day his business associate murdered his wife and son before taking his own life. My friend burned Jay-Z with hot water while working as a bathroom attendant in a NY club. Jay-Z comes in unexpectedly, big hellos, shaking hands with people, bartenders, barbacks, bus boys, etc., goes into the bathroom where my friend is an attendant, takes a piss and walks up to the sink. My friend is so starstruck he turns the hot water on but not the cold. Jay-Z puts his hands under the faucet, yells out and says "Nga can sue." Then he tells my friend not to worry about it. When I was 13 I started showing symptoms of appendicitis in the middle of the night. My mom thought I was faking to get out of school because we had just watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off the night before and left for work. She came home halfway through the day to try and catch me, only to find me throwing up bile and shivering on the bathroom floor from fever. She still thought I was faking. Then went into her bedroom and got my birthday present, my first cell phone. When I didn't ask for it at all and just laid in bed half crying for another 2 hours, she finally took me to the hospital. By the time they got me into surgery and made the incision, my appendix was so inflamed the doctor said it popped out then exploded. I ended up getting an infection because some of the gunk seeped back into my incision and spent a week in the hospital. What makes this so unbelievable was that my mom's excuse was that she thought I was overreacting because I had just started getting my period. One night I was walking back drunk together with a girl to my place. We walked past a casino and there was a man talking to the security guard in front of the entrance. The man who wanted to get it had jogging pants on and couldn't get in because of not complying to the dress code. I got offered $100 to trade my pants. Of course I did it. They were old and when I bought them they cost like $40.
This year, like I said, I'm having a midlife crisis. I've started a YouTube channel and I'm on a big health kick. One thing that I found is very easy to eat, very easy to prepare, is I heat up chickpeas with chicken broth and tikka masala. And there are two schools of thought about how you should eat beans. Some people believe you should buy the dry beans and soak them, but I tried that and it was a disaster. So I buy canned beans every time. And if I'm opening like 2 cans a day to be on this diet, it is a massive pain in the ass if the can has this jagged metal edge. You know, I'm worried if like little bits of metal are getting into my food, I'm going to slice up my intestines. So I found this special can opener that actually opens the can in a way that is completely safe, no metal's getting in your food, and it is 1,000 times better than any other can opener I've ever used. So if you wind up, opening a lot of cans for whatever reason, maybe you've got a cat or something, you must buy this can opener from my affiliate link.